Over the last year, I've been aiming to find out just how far a human could get in each of the 3D Mario games. With the release of the Mario Galaxy movie this week, it felt like the perfect time to finally cover this. How many stars could a human get in Super Mario Galaxy 2? Before getting this challenge started though, we need to lay out a few ground rules. First off, as with Mario Galaxy 1, I'll be allowing myself to breathe in every level with the use of a super agile spacesuit. Otherwise, this would be a 1-minute video, not this monstrosity. Additionally, that suit will let me breathe underwater like scuba gear and can somewhat insulate from the scorching heat of lava levels. Second, we're going to be treating warp stars as little rockets that I can take from planet to planet. Given that the human body isn't exactly built for high velocity blasts through the sky, this seems like the best alternative to actually let me progress. Third, I won't be allowing myself to use any of the power-ups in this game, meaning the Fire Flower, Cloud, Star, and so forth are off limits. To truly test my human capabilities, I want to look for creative problem-solving methods instead. Finally, we're considering Mario's height to be the canon 5 feet and 1 inch. That way, he can act as a solid reference for us whenever we're trying to determine the height or feasibility of an action. With all that taken care of, let's go! And starting things out, we're headed to the Star Festival. Again. If these happen every 100 years, how is it already happening again? Okay, no. This video is already so long we are not getting caught up in the first minute. Starting things out, we have a fun tribute to our 2D games with a segment headed toward Peach's castle. Making our way forward, I will say that I'm hoping 2D platforming doesn't happen too much here, since I have significantly more limited movement. For example, a basic jump to the second platform for Mario is almost 12 to 13 feet tall for me. Essentially, we are not getting up there. Continuing on forward though, we find ourselves a little friend as well as an important topic of discussion. Just like last time, we get the spin ability, and with it the necessary ability to break crystals. In short, I'm only letting myself shatter crystals with it, no hovering or anything like that. I could claim the crystals are shatterable by hitting them or body slamming them, or we have a hammer or something, but I can break them and that's that. Things are pretty chill moving forward though, until eventually we see that Bowser's attacking the castle again. And low-key at this point, Peach is just choosing to get kidnapped. Like, dude, I know you can float away to safety. Regardless, Bowser heads out with her, and once again, it's up to me, John Kivett, certified average human, to save her. Heading toward the castle doors, a friendly Luma offers us a rocket to fly up into space. That rocket takes us into the first official level of the video, Pee-wee Piranha's Temper Tantrum. Rocketing down to Yoshi's house, we make our way around the small disc, making sure to politely use the pathway of course so that we don't step on his lawn. Taking a pipe to the other side, it's a brief hike up the hill, shattering a crystal, and hopping in this massive hole to rocket onwards. On to the next island, it's some simple parkour involving short ledges and disappearing platforms, but thankfully none of these seem too tall to climb up, and by being careful to avoid the onslaught of rocks, we can eventually make our way up. We do have to be somewhat careful not to jump at the wrong time, but again, all fully doable. Leaping across this gap, we make our way upwards, then further upwards, until blasting off again. And finding our way onto some microplanets, I do believe we should be able to traverse between the two by running and leaping from the first to the second. Then, once there, another rocket all the way over to this scary challenge. You see, these sliding rocks will push us off into a literal black hole if we aren't fast enough. But come on, this is light work. We easily make our way to the top, avoid some Paragoombas, and blast off one final time until coming to Pee-wee Piranha. Sadly though, this fight doesn't go much better than the Dino Piranha did months ago. Look man, I don't know what you want me to do here. Mario straight up punches this dude with his ungodly strength to take him down, and I'm not doing that. For me, it would just be running in circles until I eventually tire out and meet my demise. From here though, we make our way to Lubba's ship, and guys, I don't know if this is controversial, but Lubba makes me really uncomfortable. And then we did something very narcissistic by making the planet look just like us. If only it looked like this instead of Mario though. With that taken care of, let's see if our luck gets any better headed back in. For our second Star of Sky station, we're met with a familiar sight, except it's covered in small chomps and balloons. Avoiding most of those obstacles though and headed down, we find that we need to locate a key to free this dude. Now these balloons seem to kill enemies with relative ease, so I think that even just punching one I could likely achieve my goal. But I could also just walk up to the small chump from the side and kick that dude away. Pretty easily we found the key, rocket over to the giant bill thing, and find our way inside by dodging a couple bonsai bills. In here, we're again sent back into a 2D style level, which scares me for reasons you'll see momentarily. Moving forward, we're met with a really big drop. I know it doesn't seem like much, but again we have to recall that Mario is 5 feet tall, making this fall around 30 feet or more. If you want to somehow claim that I could do that though, just hold that thought, because immediately after is an ensured death drop. No star for me here either. And for our final main star, we've got a speedrun level. Not that I'd know anything about speedrunning, but we can give it our best shot. We're basically just doing a shortened version of the first star, where we need to constantly collect tokens that slightly increase our timing. We can once again make it all the way to Pee-wee, which is great, but unless someone gives my fist the strength of a nuclear bomb, there's no way we're damaging this guy. I guess I'm happy to at least prove that we could get here, but let's try the green stars. For those of you who don't know, like me, because I just started playing this game, once you beat Mario Galaxy 2, it gives 120 more green stars to collect. These guys are essentially just hidden throughout the level in fun or tricky locations. Our first one is actually insanely simple though, where we can just straight up see it floating right here. So we make our way through the pipe, hop back through the house, and hang off the edge to grab our first star of the video. For the second green star, we actually need to go quite a bit further into the map, fully traversing the first island again as well as most of the second. However, before rocketing away at the end, I realized that the sneaky dude is actually hiding right in front of us. Now, it would be terrifying to grab, but if we were able to climb over the fence and hang off the ledge, we could go ahead and grab this dude as well. And for our final green star, we're actually dropped back off in the alternative layout again. I went forward hoping for the best, but was unfortunately again met with an impossible to traverse tube, which I did confirm that the green star was at the end of. Sadly, it wasn't a full green star sweep, but I'm at least happy to be leaving Sky Station with at least 2 stars. Headed out though, I think it's finally time for us to meet our new friend of this game. Next up is Yoshi Star Galaxy, which as you can probably guess, introduces us to my boy Yoshi. It also introduces us to big scary questions. Starting this level out, we have a pretty easy walk forward where we beat the crap out of some piranha plants, which I've well established in other videos that I could absolutely beat. Coming up to the main layer, I also don't think it would be that hard to hit Kamek either. He seems very punchable if you avoid his blasts. That takes us to the Yoshi egg though, and consequently, Yoshi. This also takes us to the big scary question of how do I handle him? The way I've treated movement altering mechanics in the past is by evaluating my human feasibility to use them. For example, in Mario 64, I didn't let myself use the shell since I didn't see it as realistic to maintain my balance on them given their shape and speed. Do I think I could ride Yoshi though? Yeah, definitely. And given the fact that he's shown to speak in this game, I could literally communicate with him vocally, meaning that there'd likely be no issues with me telling him to use certain abilities, such as using his tongue to pull on this giant fruit. However, not every ability seems that humanly compatible, and I'll continue on with that in a second. Taking him in my rocket with me, we continue forth, climbing up the small mountain, where we do encounter a few springs which I can avoid with this flutter jump. I do try to avoid springs whenever possible given that I don't want the jarring forces on my body, so it's nice we can get past them. At the top though is the debatably human compatible element. Yoshi can essentially use his tongue as a grappling hook, propelling up and forward with these floating flowers. I guess it just feels kinda wrong to use these, but they're not technically breaking any rules. I could instruct Yoshi to swing us to the other side while I wrap my arms and legs around him to avoid falling off, given that we're spinning through the air a lot. Ultimately, I just opted to use them as minimally as possible, but consider them a feasible worst case scenario. Unfortunately for me, that worst case scenario happens a lot in this game. At least for this level though, the only other necessary ones were at the very end, and that did lead us to getting our first real star. While Sky Station had me really worried about the trajectory of the game, Yoshi may be our saving grace. Depending on how often he shows up, this might just manage to gift us some big wins. Getting ready for the second star of the galaxy, we actually have a quick detour. On the main spaceship, we now have a Yoshi egg, And given that I've never played this game before, I was curious if bringing it into the core selection would let us start with him. The answer? No. No, it does not. So oh well. Going into Spiny Control, this dude immediately hit me, so I went to get Yoshi to exact my revenge. I did not, in fact, exact my revenge, but I did quickly learn how the mechanic works here. Basically, if I hit a Spiny once with Yoshi's tongue, it forces them to roll up. Then, if I hit him again to eat them, I can shoot that projectile anywhere I want to. Again, given that I'm having to tell Yoshi what to do, it would just sound like Yoshi, lick that guy. Yoshi, eat that guy. Yoshi, spit that guy where I'm pointing. And Yoshi is probably very tired of me. Rocketing forward though, it's another lick, eat, spit, and that's where I'm going to stop giving the verbal descriptions of what I'm saying. Just assume I'm commanding him from now on. The island is pretty easy to leave, just requiring some more of these same mechanics until eventually making our way to the boss arena. Here we have to fight Evil Lakitu, which is just him but big. The mechanic to beat him is the same that we've been doing this whole time though. Grab some Spinies and shoot them at him, while avoiding the onslaught of lightning and whatnot else. Now, I don't feel great saying a human can do this, because truthfully, Yoshi is doing basically all of the heavy lifting, but as all good managers do, I'm going to take the credit of my worker and say that yes, we can get this star. And for the last main star, we've got to take on a ton of Spinies in just a minute. Now, traditionally, you obviously use the star power for this, running around and taking all of them out. Given that nearly every Mario enemy is shown to die to a single punch or kick though, I do feel like I have an alternative. You see how their heads are literally visible right here? I could just lean down and punch him in the face, or kick him. Their heads are literally at the perfect height for that. This would obviously take a little bit longer to kill them than the star would, but I honestly think if we were able to get multiple tries, we could do this with enough practice to build a route. A little odd of a challenge to judge, but I'm willing to call it doable. And for our first green star, it's literally right there. Are all of the green stars just gonna be this simple? Because if so, that's great for the challenge, but kinda lazy on their part. We beat the crap out of Kamek, take Yoshi, bounce up, which is fine because it's Yoshi's knees that are suffering here, not mine, and flutter all the way up to grab the star. And for green star too. Yeah, my hypothesis is kinda right. I think these guys may just be completely baby mode. We punch Kamek again, grab the Yoshi, and instead of climbing the hill, just progress a little bit more into the level, where we immediately see the green star. Watch me complain about how easy these are for a human to get, only for them to become absurdly difficult in the near future. I should honestly just be grateful for the successes. And for our final green star, this one wasn't actually very easy. First off, we basically just repeat every step of the first star, taking us all the way to the end of the level. Here though, instead of grabbing the main guy, we use the flowers to go a little higher and see the green star way up there. I tried this a ton of times, always ending up just barely shy of the star, until I eventually realized what I was supposed to do. Following the age-old tradition of those before me, I swung Yoshi up, fluttered all the way to the top, and leapt off his back, casting him down toward the earth as I grabbed the star. Now in reality, I would actually probably just sit up and reach toward it, which I could definitely do. Mario doesn't know how to stretch his hands upwards. So with that, we have our first full sweep. 6 stars is pretty insane, and I'm hoping that we can keep that energy moving forward. Heading into Spin Dig Galaxy, I have already got a feeling that I likely won't be completing this level. Typically, power-up based galaxies tend to not go well for kind of obvious reasons. To my surprise though, this isn't even a power-up. It's just Mario's insane ability to spin like a Beyblade. I did this multiple times to confirm my thoughts, and yeah, it really does just look like he's spinning that fast on his own. So, not a power-up, but still not humanly possible. And going into the second challenge, we're immediately met with a pretty unique issue. Right behind me is 3 Miis. This was something that frequently came up in the comments of Galaxy 1, but the shadow clones match you as either Mario or Luigi depending who you play as. That means if I'm completing this as John, these are Shadow Johns, or Cosmic Johns I guess. But regardless of that, we can quickly dispatch them by shattering through this giant crystal. On impact, it immediately explodes them. Us? And allows me to rocket only a short distance to the top of this platform, where after killing a piranha plant we can painstakingly climb our way up this super long vine. These don't always go well depending on where the ending drops us off, but here we should be able to grab the grating and safely lower ourselves to the platform, then entering the pipe. That's where our luck ends though, because assuming our ankles even survive this drop, the rest of the area is all based on digging. Now, you could say that maybe I could just dig this by hand, but with just how expansive the area is, alongside the enemy drills moving back and forth which would prevent me from making any initial progress, this is a no-go. Despite our better start, it is still a loss. And given that this star was a daredevil run, and we had failed the missions before it, I was immediately ready to discount it. However, I completely forgot that daredevil comments take you straight to the final fight. That means we can actually come face to face with Dig-a-Leg, but it still doesn't really change much. We can't use the drill like Mario, so we can't use the primary method of fighting. The only potential idea I had was that I could pick up the drill, run under his legs, and attempt to shatter the glass by slamming the drill into it, but frankly with some testing it just doesn't seem possible. There's way too little space between the glass casing and the legs, not to mention how fast the legs slam down and how frequently he moves around. I really wanted a creative solution here, but unfortunately it doesn't look like we've got one. And for the first green star, we're back on the starting planet, which as we've established, we can't leave. Kind of a fun fact though, even if I could leave, the green star is located so far out from the planet that I wouldn't have been able to jump and reach it anyways. And for green star 2, we again can't beat the first planet. Couldn't beat the second one either, and even if we made it to the ring, we most definitely could not jump high enough to reach it. Let's really hope these high up green stars don't become a trend. For green star 3, we have another one that is both inaccessible and very high up. Amazing! I'm really not shocked by the outcome of this galaxy at all, but it is pretty hilarious to go from 6 to immediately 0. Maybe the next planet will go a little bit better for us. Coming into Fluffy Bluff Galaxy, it's another power-up galaxy. Yay! However, there is one saving grace. This guy is the cutest thing I have ever seen. Why did they never bring him back? But anyways, I definitely looked around quite a bit, and this world does not seem to work in our favor. The cloud power-up is necessary to scale multiple segments, and while you could argue that I may be able to find some way up this building, the following sections are just absolutely a no-go. Next up, we're taking on the Chimp Stomp Challenge, and this one is really weird to judge. The premise isn't just killing all the enemies, it's killing them in a way that leads to combos. Since you need 10,000 points to reach the threshold, it's a given that you have to bounce off at least multiple. Now, I don't really see myself bouncing, but if I hit them in a quick enough succession, would that allow me to get the additional points? I have no idea. The good news about this level is that we can at least actually navigate it this time around, since little rockets were placed everywhere that the cloud power-up was initially needed. So, I can get to every platform, I can probably kill everything. It's just a question of if I can do the combos as a human. I want to imagine that with some experimentation I could find some type of move that the chimp would accept, so for now I'm gonna say yes, but feel free to argue with me, I don't know. And for our final star here, we've got a hungry Luma to feed. This dude wants 100 coins, which is a lot, but even if we could get them, he's all the way up on top of the tree. It really doesn't seem like there's any humanly possible way for me to get up there, and even if we could, the following room requires the cloud power-up, so it's a no-go no matter what. Starting out our green stars, I don't feel great about the odds given that these guys like to sit very high up, and this is a cloud level. To my full despair, it was in fact very high up. No creative solution is solving this. And for the second one, I didn't see it anywhere on the ground level, so after taking the high ground by hopping on some clouds, which again, a human cannot do. Are you serious? And for star 3, look at that! We can actually see it in the starting cutscene, in a place we can't reach. Given that this world was cloud themed though, I'm honestly just happy to leave with one at all. As with most gimmick galaxies, we enter Flip Swap with some big questions. Every time Mario spins, the platforms flip, which is a bit precarious for me. Breaking it down, it does primarily seem to be the power of the Luma flipping these, so we could likely request a different movement like clapping to indicate the desire for a flip. Additionally, one thing I could take advantage of here is that Mario can't stand on the metal siding of the switches, while I probably could. They look to be a good foot or so in width, so I could just stand on them while we have the platforms flip, letting us progress forward. None of that silly jumping action. With that logic in mind, this should be possible as far as I can tell. It would be really scary, and you'd need some fantastic balance, but with patience and time, I do think we could make our way to the end. Stand on a ledge, flip, continue forward, and repeat the process. That's a star acquired. Going in for the second star, we have essentially the same layout, but with purple coins. And a timer. Not ideal. In terms of the approach toward this level, it is effectively the same, but we are being rushed the entire time. Rather than deliberating too much though, I'll just say this. I played this level slowly and managed to beat it with only 3 seconds to spare. Frankly, I think if human me was doing this, I would have taken at least double the time, if not more. Between making the massive jumps, balancing on the outlines as the switch is flipped, and waiting for optimal timing, there's honestly no way to accomplish this that fast. 10 minutes, maybe? But even I'd be skeptical of that. Sadly, I've got to do this as a no-go. Going back in for our first green star though, I went ahead and just looked around for a moment, and to my full expectation at this point, it was floating way up in the sky out of reach. And the second green star is also out of reach. And this rolling chain jump is right below it. So we cannot do this. Given the gimmick here though, I really can't be that disappointed, and I'm still pretty happy to at least again leave with 1 star. Okay, I don't want to jinx it, but going into Right Side Down Galaxy, I think we may have a chance. Some of the best levels I did in Galaxy 1 were gravity changing based, since they frequently offer me a lot of good options for how to creatively approach the issues. Unfortunately, we instead start with just a ton of giant drops. I got so desperate that I considered the idea of running forward and grabbing onto a Paragoomba to ride it down, but there are just too many drops to justify anything creative like that. I'm so disappointed by this, but whatever. For our second star, which is a secret one, we've got to burn some trash. Fantastic for the environment, I'm sure. Unfortunately though, per usual, I can't use power-ups, and also I can't even access the location because we can't start this stupid level. Yippee, no stars, let's see if my luck magically gets any better. And for both of our green stars, to avoid being repetitive, we can't start the level, so we can't obtain these, and also they were way out of reach anyways. Let's see if the final boss is any better for us. Headed into the final galaxy of World 1, Bowser Jr.'s Fiery Flotilla, we are met with a shockingly simple start. Headed up these stairs, we make our way past some minor obstacles like thwomps and fireballs, until beating the crap out of Kamek and flipping the switch. That leads us to a rocket, which ultimately lands us at another parkour segment. It's weird how intermittently they occur, but segments like this are so similar to Galaxy 1 and thus significantly easier for me to do. Upon getting to the final planet, we see the dude from Mario Kart 8. Yo, he's the map. Can't believe they stole this from Mario Kart 8, dude, what the heck. The essential goal here is to run from Gobblegut, eventually leading him to burrow through the planet. While passing through, his little stomach bulbs get stuck for a moment and we have to hit them. Now, I am not as strong as Mario, but Bowser Jr. does refer to these as him having a stomach ache. So I have to imagine that any reasonably strong hit would cause him the same discomfort. It's at this point in the video that I have to again remind you guys that I am, in fact, absolutely yoked. So sure, we can punch him really hard in the stomach, cool. That still doesn't change how insanely difficult it is to avoid him though. At most, I'm willing to very skeptically say that this is possible, given that everything in the level before this can be done, which is frankly a miracle, and we can potentially damage him. We could hypothetically avoid every attack as we keep moving and juking and get him down. Humanly possible, insanely difficult, but with that, we claim our first grand star of the video. And headed back in for the second star, we've got another fight against Gobblegut, except we are directly thrust into the fight and only given 2 minutes. It really doesn't make a huge difference though, since the normal fight is already really fast. I guess my conclusion is just the same. If our punches are strong enough to upset his already severely bulging stomach, then sure, we can get the star as well. If you want to imagine that both of these are impossible though and just don't want to count them, more power to you. For our green stars, the first one is actually in a really weird but creative place. Now, I can't reach it, which is frustrating, but this dude is actually located on the top of the castle, which is pretty cool. To actually get there, you have to jump from the thwomp, which I can't do, and given that the front wall doesn't seem climbable, I don't see a way up there. For the second green star though, things do look a little bit better. Here we start this level as normal and head to the lava section, making our way to the very end but stopping just shy of the launch star. That's because our green star is located way out here over the lava, which clearly has a pretty dangerous outcome if we happen to miss it. Unfortunately though, it does take Mario a long jump and a spin to reach, and I don't see myself making that full jump distance, which is kind of a bummer given that it's the first one that seems somewhat feasible in a while. Either way, I'm still pretty dang happy with the outcome of this galaxy. With World 1 done, let's make our way to World 2. Guys, he makes me so uncomfortable, I don't want to see him anymore. Starting out World 2 is the Puzzle Plank Galaxy. And starting us out, we need to make our way down to the main level, which does not look good for us. In denial and debating some way that I could possibly make it work, I continued on a little further by killing some wigglers, only to realize that yeah, this galaxy was probably going to be a giant pain in the butt. The next major segment required hammering massive wooden blocks down through the earth by slamming my butt into them, which I don't particularly think would go well for me. It's not just the start. Everything here rules out the star as possible. Going back into Puzzle Plank for Star 2, we have a secret star that's actually really cool. By feeding a hungry Luma 70 coins, we get to travel to a rendition of the Bugaboom fight in Galaxy 1. Sadly, we can't do the fight, because it both requires power-ups as well as actually starting the level, but I can't even be upset because it was really cool to see again. And oh boy, I can't wait to go back into Puzzle Plank only to not be able to start the guides. Holy crap, we don't have to start there. Our challenge here is to just enter this pipe and collect 100 purple coins while being chased by endless cosmic Johns, which is actually really easy. The biggest challenge I faced here was actually managing to snatch all 4 purple coins each time I passed through them, but as a person I could just extend my arms all the way out to ensure we didn't miss any. If we snake our way up and down, there is no risk of running into a clone either, so we're good to go. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we actually get a star in this galaxy, which is kind of insane. Unfortunately though, all good things must come to an end, as we're back on the stupid block again. What is kind of interesting is that our first green star is actually up here with us, except it is way too far up out of reach where I have no chance of getting to it. Then, for the sake of saving time, green stars 2 and 3 are also later in the level where we can't get to, so oh well. For a level that started off with an impossible to pass section though, 1 star is still objectively better than nothing. Going into Hightail Falls Galaxy, I was a little worried seeing this pepper that it would be another ability, but psych! My boy Yoshi is here, and we're teaming up on this one. I love you. It's a pretty simple mechanic here. I feed Yoshi spicy pepper, and Yoshi runs really freaking fast. Again, I can't really take much credit for my human abilities completing this, as Yoshi's doing all the heavy lifting, but as long as I can hold on and direct him where to go, we're all good here. I have to imagine at this point though we'd have some type of good steering system between us. As scary as it would be, and ignoring the countless concussions I'd suffer slamming into a wall at full speed, I'm gonna go ahead and say that this one is doable. Star acquired. Going back in for Star 2, we again repeat the same start, but make sure to grab a decent amount of coins. We punch some Goombas, direct Yoshi with a little more intent, and just hold on real tight to ensure that when we get to the Hungry Luma, our pockets are full. Feeding this dude 30 coins results in a new planet, which is easy peasy, just very annoying. We need 5 silver stars, and they're constantly running away from us. Trying to chase these down for way too long, I eventually realized that I could direct Yoshi to just use his tongue, which I always forget about. With that making life way easier, we collect every single one and get our second star. And then ending off the main stars is the Hightail Falls speedrun. Yoshi, you better kick it into high gear, because we've only got 3 minutes. Immediately taking off as soon as I was able to. We have to avoid some falling meteors as I hopped on my guy's back and sped forward. It's hard to describe exactly what happened here, but Yoshi and I genuinely entered a flow state. We were like Hiccup and Toothless, soaring past all of our obstacles as one. I literally beat this level on my first try, which I wasn't expecting, but at this point I was good to say that me and Yoshi are one. Our synergy is truly united. Hi, future me here. By implying that every single Yoshi hatched from these eggs is the same Yoshi, I'm effectively implying that either this one guy is showing up across multiple galaxies around the universe, or all Yoshis exist as a part of some kind of hive mind. I really didn't mean to open this conversation up to anything that complex and overwhelming, so we're not going to think about it. For our first green star here, we again just use Yoshi and keep doing what we're doing. Basically on the second huge ramp, we need to continue climbing our way all the way to the top, which is unfortunately much harder than it sounds. With the right movement and commands to Yoshi though, we should be able to thread that needle, make our way to the top, and give Yoshi some minor brain damage until we slow down enough to say hello to this dude and grab our star. After that though, things get much harder for stars 2 and 3. Real me struggled a lot with these, as they're both later in the level and require a lot more skill to reach. Now, in terms of actual feats though, we're not doing any movements that I haven't already done. We're just using the speedrunning, managing to balance on top of a wall, and fluttering out to the star, which is feasible. It just feels a bit odd to assert that this is humanly doable, but like, hey, if Yoshi can carry the team, I won't try to stop him. For this final one though, it was even more insane. We head back to roughly the same area, go a little bit farther up, and end up seeing the star here. The basic goal is to get the speed boost and parkour across these flowers, eventually ending in a flutter toward the star. Now, it could just be a gameplay issue on my part, but I don't think Yoshi alone is capable of reaching this. I actually had to jump off of his back to be able to get to it. Now, when it's been a small reach, I've been okay accepting that, but this seems like way too much of a leap on my part to actually successfully pull off. But this level is insane looking and we still managed to walk away with 5 stars, so I am very happy about that. Coming into Boulder Bowl Galaxy though, things already don't sound great. My biggest fears were in fact confirmed upon entry, as I quickly saw that this was a power-up world. The ability here allows us to basically become Cannonbolt from Ben 10, charging up and rolling forward, breaking down anything in our path. Given that this ability is immediately required to take down the first bridge and progress, I hate to say it, but we're already cooked here. However, I did at least have one thought for minor progress that we can call back to soon. While it wouldn't do much good for now, this bridge doesn't appear to be locked in place, so if I were to plant my feet and just push as hard as possible, I do think we could potentially get it to tip over. Given that you have to roll to the next planet though, our progress would still stop here. Going into the second star, we're not starting in the same area, and it's a challenge that might not require the boulder ability. Let's go! The challenge here is to take out all of the crabbers before the time runs out, and we only have a minute. But frankly, it's more like 55 seconds, because by the time we touch down, we've already lost 5. We can still kill these guys by hand by hitting their unarmored butts. This does work, but sadly, I think the timer makes it impossible. I reran this level so many times trying to move as fast as I could, and even on my best runs there were just so many left. Additionally, these guys come together to basically make a crab island, where most of their weak spots are facing inwards and protected. I was so excited about this one being possibly doable with a unique setup, but I really don't see any way a human does this in a minute. With more time for sure, but not this way. And for the final star, we've got to bring a Goomba to this dude. Which, frankly, I don't know if I feel morally okay doing that. What do you mean you collect them? How sentient are Goombas? Are they closer to thinking beings like toads or animals? Thankfully, I don't need to weigh the morality anymore on this because we cannot leave the beginning of the level. And for the first green star, we actually get much closer than you may expect. This guy is located right at the start of the level, and although you traditionally need to wall jump up to scale this bridge, we could likely use the side rungs as a ladder. That being said, once getting to the top, there's no way for us to get high enough to reach it. It kinda sucks seeing just how many of the green stars could have been doable if it wasn't for a big jump at the end. For the second, we're calling back to that first star though. Remember how I said it may be possible to collapse the bridge? Well, it's time to do that. If we can get this dude to tip over, we can actually make it to the end, dangle off the edge, and grab ourselves a green star. Thankfully, it's actually close to the ledge unlike most of the recent ones, so there's no trouble in calling this possible. And for the final green star, it's actually also just dangling over an edge, but unfortunately it's further on where we can't get to. All in all though, I'm still pretty happy again to be leaving with at least one star, given what the world was. And going into Cosmic Cove Galaxy, we find ourselves in a water level, which as I've mentioned before, I actually really enjoy. I went ahead and started stomping Koopas, then held onto the shell as we explored the underwater. I assumed that we'd actually be doing something down here, but nope. After exploring for quite a while, I eventually surfaced and realized that we had to climb this tower, slam down on a switch, and freeze the entire world over. Now, given that everything up to this point was doable, I was feeling really good. Sadly though, those feelings were misplaced, as my final challenge was to climb frozen waterfalls. If I allowed myself ice picks or something like that, then maybe I could have justified this, but sadly that is a no. In our second star, the entire world is already frozen over. The initial part of this isn't too bad, given that we're just sliding across some ice until eventually reaching this pipe, and I was feeling really good as I jumped in until the pipe dropped us really far down, only to leave us stranded above a brick flooring. Again, Mario's built different, I can't just shatter my way through literal bricks. Let's hope this next one doesn't rely on any mechanics like these. It's finally our time, guys! For the final main star, we need to collect 15 coins and feed them to a hungry Luma. Thankfully, this isn't a hard task at all. A lot of these coins are just located underwater or on floating platforms, and the rest could be collected by FNAF Foxy style diving onto the scuttlebugs to kill them. With our 15 collected, we take them to the Luma and rocket to the new planet, where our task is to simply catch this bunny. The first thing I did was take out most of the scuttlebugs to avoid any danger, which we could do by just slamming down on top of them. Then I gave chase. The main issue here is we traditionally need to freeze the planet over and skate to catch up, but here's the thing. Mario has a set speed and the bunny has a set speed. Human me? Not so much. We could take as much time as we need to rest before this, then use a good boost of adrenaline to absolutely sprint after this dude. Ignore the ice, I'm imagining me running on the water, and with optimal placement and good timing, I do see us being able to catch up and grab this star. Our first green star takes us down an extremely familiar path of swimming through the caves, pressing a switch, and sadly looking up frozen waterfalls as our star shimmers just a few feet behind the one from earlier. So, outcome is unfortunately the same. For green stars 2 and 3 though, they aren't much better. Given that both of them follow the steps of star 2, we make our way down the icy roadway until entering the pipe, which drops us off in a fully sealed room. If we accepted the traversal through this water as possible, then we could have at least gotten star 2, but again, it doesn't really matter as we're stuck in our brick prison for the indefinite future.
Help me! Get me out of here!
That leaves us with just 1 star total, but hey, I promise you, it gets better from here. Going into Wild Glide Galaxy, we again have a bit of a silly situation. Rather than using our own movement, similar to Yoshi, we are relying on the movement of Flezzard. So it really just comes down to 2 things. Can I work with him, and can I direct him? Frankly, I think so on both, especially because we in-game get a full explanation and tutorial of how to cooperate. Also, I found this out at the end of the level, but the balloons aren't even necessary to get the star. So really our only goal is to just safely make it to the bottom, which I see as fully possible. That's a star acquired. Going back in for our second star, it's a race this time. Oh, sorry. For this one, we need to beat these 5 little guys as we glide down to the ending, and now that we're a bit more experienced, it should be good to go. The only thing I thought about this time around was I hadn't considered my grip strength, but since it seems like Flezzard's gripping our arms just as much as we're holding him, I do think it's okay. I may still dislocate a shoulder or something by hanging for that long, But in the past we've said that stars hypothetically will fully heal Mario, so once I collect it, I should be good to go. Anyways, if we can control Flezzard, we've got this star. Keeping with that energy, our first green star is even easier than the last two. We're not even racing anyone or anything, just taking a brief flight down the river until very quickly encountering the star. For the second green, it's a similar story, except we do need to make it all the way to the end, where the green star is hidden far over on the right. We've just got to swing right there, and... okay, trying that again. Swing over there, and are you serious? On our first try, we swung over there and grabbed the star. That officially means this is our second galaxy with a full sweep of the stars. It also happens to be another galaxy that fully relied on the movements of another creature, so that definitely makes us humans look great. Heading to the Honeybloom Galaxy, I already assume we're pretty cooked just based on the name. That being said, I'm gonna give it my best shot as always. Coming into the level, I'm pleasantly surprised to see that we can, in fact, at least start it. A lot of these tall ledges are covered in wooden boards that we could actually climb like ladder rungs. So, headed up, we swing across this gap, making sure not to fall to our deaths, only to find that not too further up, we get fully stopped. I doubt I could even get on top of the ledge here, but even if so, we are absolutely stuck on the following section anyways. I double checked our only other route by climbing down, but that only leads to the section you'd fall in if you weren't a skilled parkour genius like me. I guess we can at least drink water from down here so we can live the rest of our days trapped, but not thirsty. And for our second star here, this is actually kinda surreal. I forgot to collect this one weeks ago, and currently I have 119 stars as I type this, meaning it's real life me's last actual star before the finale. But can a human get it? Our start to this level looks exactly the same here, where we climb this ladder, but immediately after getting up, swing all the way up here. I've tested this multiple times, and while I could climb the ladder if we made it up, I really don't think it would be possible to get there. This unfortunately just seems too unreasonably far for me to justify swinging to, so I've got to say no as well. For Green Star 1, honestly, take a guess. What do you think? What do you think happens when we try to go look for green stars hidden throughout this level, which are both most definitely beyond the wall I can't pass? In short, they both need the B power up, and they're both absurdly high up, so they're impossible. I can't get them. This galaxy is evil, and the B power up is evil. 0 stars for me.
Hi guys, B-John here. I just want to say if you're enjoying the video to consider subscribing. Bzzz.
And finally, going into Bowser's lava lair, I am not optimistic. Making our way forward from the start, we can rocket over to this pillar, where we immediately have some pretty terrifying parkour over lava. Then on top of that, there is a spring, which while I could maybe bounce myself over to the following cylinder, from the look of it, my knees would be toast. But sure, let's say I did that. Then I have to make my way again across more lava. Then I'd have to make long, quick succession jumps. Guys, it'd be so funny to push him off here. Beat a hammer bro in hand-to-hand combat. And then after all of that, we have an 150-foot drop that goes even faster than if I had just jumped off myself. So no, we can't do this. There's so many more reasons aside from what I've said, but Bowser remains untouched. If only we could have had our face-to-face reunion. Our second star is a speedrun star, so we have no chance, and I fear that my absolutely horrific gameplay here for the B-roll about sums up how my true experience would go. For star 3, our first green star, this one is a bit frustrating in how close we could actually get. Assuming we could survive the 150-foot drop, literally right after it down the road is our green star. Now that being said, it is impossible to reach, since there's no way we could jump that far over the lava, but I'd still prefer to gaze at it from a closer distance, as I call it impossible. And last but not least, this second green star is so far into the level that there's no point in even entertaining it. It is a cool concept at least though, where we'd have to jump at the perfect time to grab this right above the black hole. And although this galaxy and World 2 as a whole were really rough, with 0 stars achieved here, we may be tempted to fall into despair, But keep your heads held high, because World 3 definitely gets better. Going into Tall Trunk Galaxy, I honestly saw the name of the level and felt instant fear. It's literally a gamble every single world, whether it'll be a Yoshi power-up or a Mario power-up. And thank God it was I love you. It was a Yoshi power-up. Basically, we just eat these yummy fruits and Yoshi sends us skyward. I doubt that's very comfortable for him, but he seems to be okay. So our only true challenge here is going to be ensuring that we never fall too far, since those forces would be really bad. The great thing about Yoshi though is that his physics-breaking flutter jump allow us to slow down at any point, so we can utilize that to slow us down before hitting the ground. This allows us to safely collect all 5 star bits, and in the next segment, we again use this skill to safely fall down the extremely long drop. From there, it's just making our way up, taking a couple breaks to let Yoshi eat these pokey guys, and finally we end up at the star, claiming it as our own. For the second star, we've got a slide, and unfortunately for me, Mario 64 made me a little too trustful of these guys and how hard they may be. Before even getting to that though, we have a situation. I'll be real, I don't think this is possible, but I'm not a gymnast. If you're a gymnast, please bless me with your knowledge. While I deliberated on different methods of approaching this for a bit, it was ultimately pointless as the slide was completely impossible. If you want to argue that I could propel myself up and over these spiky segments, sure, but I refuse to believe that I could continue to keep my balance standing up while going down this entire section. That is just a stupid amount of composure to maintain under all of that pressure. If all of that isn't enough for you though, the ending just shoots us out to our death, so that'll kill us if it's not already a limp body just falling out. Okay friends, for our third star, let's do some thinking. Hi Luigi. We need to get 100 coins in the slide. I can't do the slide, but I could collect a few, again before my body just tumbled down and fell out lifeless. Going back for the green stars, oh hey, the first one is literally visible from the get-go. For this dude, we basically just need to follow the same pathing as the first one, flying up to the top with Yoshi and going to the other side. With relative ease, we went ahead and floated into this first star. Going back in for a second time, we do need to float in and use the warp star here, but as soon as we're onto the log, it's a very short journey for us. Hopping straight down and making sure to flutter to reduce the impact, we have just one more drop right here, where, with a perfectly timed flutter, we can easily get star number 2. For the final green star though, our luck doesn't exactly stay as nice. I again severely doubt that we can even climb the tree with the swinging ropes, but even if so, our limp body would again slide down as the only thing getting close to the star. The slide is really what threw us off here for the most part, but still, collecting 3 stars here is very good altogether. Going into Cloudy Court Galaxy, I'll keep this quick. The first star requires the cloud power up, and yes, there is no way around it. I double checked, and while you can stand on the clouds without the ability, they break in milliseconds. Additionally, even if I tried to just go really fast, there's no way that I could jump and reach that platform. Maybe our luck improves a little bit from here though. For our second, we've got the same level. We have to feed a hungry Luma this time to create a new planet, but I can't leave here, so let's check star number 3. For our final main one, oh my gosh guys, wait, this might actually be possible. No cloud power-ups, just the appearing platforms. Starting this run out, we need to collect some star bits while being chased by the Cosmic Johns. And it's not just a few this time, it's hundreds. Despite being smacked in the face once, we can thankfully get all 5, rocket forward, and then get met with wall jumps. Gosh dang it. For the sake of brevity, green stars 1, 2, and 3 are all in impossible to reach places, and I don't want to keep boring you by saying the same thing over and over again, so let's head somewhere else because we've got 0 stars here. Headed into our next galaxy, Haunty Halls, things look good as this level mentions the Bullberry. And you know what that means? It's Yoshi time. Based on the looks of it though, we're actually going to have to make it quite a ways on foot. Headed down this moving walkway, kinda like the things that airports have, we rocket over to our primary challenge of the level. Opting to actually take a second to think this through, the main gimmick here is the platform cycling from one side to the other, eventually looping back to the original state. And good news for me, as confusing as that would be for my brain, we could do it. It doesn't even require Mario's full sprinting speed to keep up, and as long as we took the time to watch each cycle a few times first, we could know everything to expect. There's even only one actual jump across this entire process, so little to no risk is had. Moving on from this first area though, we finally see where Yoshi comes in. If he eats the fruit, he glows. That's it. All the other power-ups have been so unique that this one is just glow. Anyways, it's a super easy time just navigating our way through the hallways until eventually finding our way to the star. I know this segment is super short, but really there's not much else to say. Let's hope that good luck keeps up. Going into the second level, we have again been blessed with a more humanly possible challenge. Who would have thought that the ghost level would be one of the most friendly to me? Going past the walk pad again, our challenge this time around is to stay ahead of the boost chasing us while navigating shifting and disappearing platforms. Dare I say, this would probably be even easier in real life, since I could actually see what was ahead of me in multiple segments compared to the forced perspectives I have here. The most challenging part would definitely be where the dudes are chomping away at the roadways, but again, given my human nature, I could swivel my head with much more ease to fend off the boos while waiting for the right time to jump. Overall, I didn't see a single place that I considered impossible here, and with one final stretch to the finish, we claimed this star without too much trouble at all. Then for our final star here, we've once again got Cosmic Johns chasing after us. The good news though, we know we can do this level. The only issue we truly face is that we don't get time to stop and think, but honestly on my very first attempt, the pathing was near perfect already. The gaps these guys chew are definitely fine to jump over, and most of the time I was able to just skirt right on by them anyways. For the first time in this video, we have managed to claim every single star ourselves. No Yoshi, no Fluzzard, no assistance needed. Okay, well Yoshi was kinda needed, but I did most of that level myself. Everybody, give it up for Haunty Halls. Hoping the green stars would go just as well, they do seem to start well. The first one was immediately visible just from the spawn point, and all I'd have to do is hypothetically hang myself down from the ledge, swing a bit back and forth to build some momentum, and release when swinging toward the star. In actually trying to grab it though, I think I may have raged the hardest of this entire gameplay. Not the final world, not Grandmaster Galaxy, this stupid green star. But eventually we got it, and I can weirdly say that I had an easier time grabbing it than Mario did. Looking at Green Stars 2 and 3, they both share a common result. I can get to them, but I can't actually get them. Since I haven't learned to triple jump yet, it's sadly a nope, but really not that sad because we've already got 4 stars. I genuinely never would have guessed that for here. Coming into Freezy Flake Galaxy, I'm pretty optimistic, since no levels have traditionally treated me better than you might expect. Going in for the first star, you may think we're cooked because there's a fire flower here, but we can circumvent that pretty easily. The only reason you even need the fireballs is to break these snow sculptures, but believe it or not, you can actually just destroy Snowman with your hands. Revolutionary, I know. We rocket toward the mainland with more snow Goombas and snow Bowsers to destroy. Our ultimate goal here is to break through this Bowser, and again, with just a few minutes I'm more than confident we could dig a way through, especially with the existing gaps already in there. Then, we hop into this fun slide all the way to the bottom, and get ejected out a very far distance. Come on, man. I debated if the snow would be enough to cushion our landing, but frankly, I don't think so. We've seen in other levels like Cool Mountain and Mario 64, that if the snow is deep enough, Mario will actually submerge into it. That's not the case here, even jumping from max height, so I have to imagine it's not deep enough to substantially save us. Oh well, maybe the next one won't need the slide. For our next star, we're following a really similar path to last time. The only difference is that instead of a fire flower, we have the boulder this time. That being said, we can still tear apart the snow Goomba and make our way to the next island. Also, for anyone wondering why I never use these, it's because gambling never pays off, kids. On this island, we need to find ourselves 5 star bits, which isn't too hard. By shattering through some crystals and digging through a ton of snow, we could eventually collect all 5, ending with a rocket and probably some very numb hands. This next planet was kind of just a maze thing, I'm not really sure, but after that we end up in the boss arena. I'll be real, I'm not quite sure what to do about Sorbetti. The way we attack him is just punching his eyeball, which human me could do, but to nowhere near the caliber of Mario. At that point, we kinda just have to ask about how sensitive his eye is. If it's the texture of a regular eye, then yeah, my punches would absolutely hurt it, and it might take more than 3, but that's fine. But if his eye is more of a rock-like substance, it's definitely a no-go. Unfortunately, given that he actually rolls on the eye and doesn't seem to be bothered by it, I'm leaning more toward a harder material, meaning that I severely doubt we can beat this guy. And for our last main star, we have a secret one. If we make our way back to the first planet again, we can dig our hands through this tree until eventually finding a golden pipe, which does take us to the chimp unfortunately. However, I do think this challenge is possible. Yes, it's on ice, but Mario seems to get reasonable traction, so assuming I have decent shoes with rubber bottoms, I'll probably be okay. We basically just need to knock down enough of these green balloon things and the occasional golden ones to get 500 points total. It took a lot of tries, but since Mario doesn't die by losing, there's really no consequence for me to just run this over and over and over again until eventually scoring 500 points, and the star is shockingly acquired. Going into the green stars, I actually was pretty hopeful here, given that we were able to navigate a decent amount of the levels each time. For the first one, we need to head back to the main island, dig through Bowser, and get on the slide, but this time we're flipping to the top. Now, if this was a physics-based thing using force to stay up, I'd question my ability to maintain Mario's speed, but truthfully it seems more like the tube has a gravitational pull downwards wherever you're standing. So in that case, if we can slide to the top, we could definitely get this first star no problem. We may just be sliding on our butt though, and not our feet. The second one has us taking the exact same pathway, but ultimately wants us to get to the lava island with Bowser, which we can't get to due to the slide drop. Given where the star is located though, I'd rather not have to try that one anyways. I do like my skin. And for this final one though, we're in the rock version, and hey, I didn't even notice there was a little guy in here last time. But anywho, we head to the main island, collect our star bits, and rocket on toward the boss fight. However, you may have caught that slight glimmer as we passed it. Headed toward this specific ledge, we can actually see the green star sitting right down there. Now, it would be really hard to line this up, but if I could leap off the ledge and land right on top of the star, it should hypothetically either warp us out or immediately heal any damage we take upon hitting the ground. Either way, that takes us out of here with 3 stars total. Oh no, not this again. We're headed to Rolling Masterpiece Galaxy, and you know what? I love these levels when I'm controlling Mario, but I ain't doing all that. At most, we could push the sphere to the wall, and maybe we could hoist it up and over to get it onto the launch pad, but like, I hope the outcome here is clear. Do I really need to say any more? And the second star is a speedrun of the first star, so let's keep going. The third star, hey, it's still the same level, so nope. And the fourth star is also still the same level, so very obviously, that's a no. For the Beat Block Galaxy, I've got a pretty good feeling here. If I'm good at one thing, it's keeping a beat. I don't even know why I wrote that, that's just not true, but I'm still optimistic here. The level's gimmick is mainly just simple parkour. Every few seconds, the tangible blocks swap, but we can deal with that pretty easily. Obviously, we don't have the spin or the height of Mario jumps to delay our landing, but we can still perfectly time our jumps on the beats so that as we take off, the new blocks will appear as we're landing. This would be terrifying and very easy to mess up, but it is still doable. The hardest part would be making sure to avoid the enemies that spawn in between the different block types, as it is hard to keep track of what's where while also keeping the timing of the blocks, but making it all the way to the end and collecting all 5 silver stars, I do feel comfortable in saying that while very difficult, it would be possible. Flying back in for star 2, we find ourselves faced with the same challenge, but way faster this time. Now, while this would all be way scarier and the timing would be so much harder to match, I will say due to the lack of enemies, I still think it's possible. You definitely want to spend a long time on the mainland practicing the hop timings, but with a lot of concentration, I do think we could make it through the obstacles and around the final pyramid, collecting our 5 silver stars and grabbing the main star.
Hi guys, future me here. This usually happens at least one time per video, but I don't know what I was talking about. There is no way that I'd be able to be doing these hops with that timing, so I'm gonna say no. No, I cannot do that. Sorry.
However, despite that immense prior success, both green stars 1 and 2 from the start of the level can be seen to be impossibly high up. I approached a bit closer just to confirm, and unfortunately, yeah, that was the case. It's a bit odd when all the normal stars end up being possible and none of the greens do, but we'll take the success and happily leave with our 2 stars. Ending off World 3 is Bowser Jr.'s Mighty Mega Hammer. Let's hope that this one goes just as well as the last Bowser Jr. level did. Starting us out, we immediately find our goat Yoshi, which quickly gives me a ton of faith in our abilities here. The gimmick is essentially just telling Yoshi to eat some bullet bills, then spit those guys right back out at the giant glass walls in front of us. Continuing forward, it's a constant onslaught of bullet bills being shot, where we either have to dodge them or direct Yoshi to shoot them back at the obstacles standing in our way. This all goes pretty well, and eventually we take a small rocket that brings us to a new segment. But this time we're interrupted by spooky airships. Ooh, spooky. They're really not that bad. I had this horrifically close call right at the end before finally making it through, and to Bowser Jr., who this time decides to attack us with probably the stupidest looking robot I've ever seen. It's so silly, I love it. The mechanic here is more or less the same as we've been doing the entire level. Yoshi, eat Bill, Yoshi, spit Bill, Yoshi, rinse and repeat. The hardest part here is just making sure you don't get hit, but once we manage to break down all 3 glass domes, the final segment opens with Bowser Jr. exposing himself. At this point, we've just got to bait him into trying to hit us, dodge the hammer slams, and shoot 2 well-aimed rockets to take this guy out. Per usual, Yoshi's the true GOAT here, but we're still the ones giving him commands. This level is shockingly humanly possible, and nets us our 2nd Grand Star. Headed back in for Star 2, this is a pretty quick discussion since it's just the same level, but a Daredevil run. Again, human me only takes 1 bullet bill to kill, so we're basically just forced to prove my statement that yeah, I can do this damageless. Looking at the first green star, we can actually kind of see it in our intro cutscene, as this dude's cannon is definitely glowing a little bit weird. However, on the first attempt, I did something that maybe nobody has ever done before. Rather than sacrificing Yoshi to save Mario, Mario was sacrificed to save Yoshi. For once, he gets to be the person who lives. But anyhow, this one's pretty simple. We continue on into the level, make sure to grab a bullet bill, or eat it I suppose, and then spit it back out toward that dude to reveal the star. For the second one, we have to go a lot further into the level, this time going back to the floating ships. If we take a right and head out toward the mast, we can very carefully get our footing on this pole to walk all the way out, fluttering at the end to grab the star. So, holy crap! A grand star, an actual star, and 2 green stars in a boss level is absurd. What a fantastic way to end World 3. Let's see if World 4 treats us any better. Coming into Supermassive Galaxy, and no, I'm not going to make a your mom joke here because I am a mature adult. We have some supermassive problems. It's funny because I can't do anything. The only progress we can make is potentially climbing onto this first block, using the cracks between the bricks as a foothold, and then maybe getting up the second as well, using the bolt hole as another foothold. From there though, the expectation is to wall jump all the way to the top using this coin, and had it been a traditional brick block, I maybe could have justified climbing it, but here, this is just a smooth yellow surface. Hopefully the next star gets us a bit better of a starting point. For the second star, we just need to sprout some beautiful flowers by running around this planet. Or maybe Mario's feet just have plant growing abilities that we don't know about. Either way, it doesn't matter much as we can't leave the start of the level. Oh boy, a speed run for our third star of a level we know that we can't complete. Let's keep going. And just to save time on the green stars, as it turns out, every single one of them was not possible. The only one remotely close is the first, which is way up on top of the coin. In short though, this is a big 0-star world, and we've got to move on. Going into Flipsville Galaxy next, the first star introduces us to the main idea. When we flip through these grates, gravity flips with us. Although I'm a little confused about the full mechanics here. If I were to try to swing around the outer edge to the bottom, gravity doesn't flip, meaning what triggers it is going through the grate specifically. So let's say that I'm able to push through these. Even if so, I doubt I'd have enough force to actually hurt the enemies on the other end. I could see the grate swinging enough to allow me through, but if a dude was on top, I feel that I would just hit it and get stuck in place. The good news is that we don't actually have to kill any of these enemies, but the bad news is that not too much further in, we have a huge drop that I doubt I could survive. There's nothing to slow or cushion our fall, and by my estimates, this looks to be about a good 40 feet or so. Now, even if I'm wrong, the rest of the level is technically doable until we get to the end, where we have to exert a lot of downward momentum to hurt this enemy. Again, I could body slam my butt down as hard as possible, but at most, it would probably just knock into the boss with a decent thud, not launch it 10 feet into the air. You win some, and you lose some. Oh well. For the second star, I want you to imagine the first level, but harder. That's this. Instead of getting to ground pound the gates, we have the drill instead. So, assuming we could even dig through these by hand, we ultimately run into the same issue as further along, we have the massive drop. But then, to add insult to injury, another taller drop. So no, that is not possible either. Our third and final main star takes us to the final area of Star 2, where we need to collect 100 purple coins in 2.5 minutes. Can I do that? Absolutely not. While I could maybe dig through the dirt by hand with a ton of time, that's the one thing we don't have. Not to mention the fact that most of the purple coins require parkour like wall jumps to reach. All in all, every part of this is just nope. And for our green stars, it looks like we have a common theme for World 4 since all of these are again impossible due to the start of the level. The first one could be doable if we were able to survive the initial drop, as it's located right by the warp star. Then the other two are just further into the level with one on a roof, and the other in some gravity shenanigans. Either way, none of them can be reached, so woo! But our mood is about to completely change, because despite these 0 stars, next up is legitimate peak. We are finally at the galaxy that I've been looking forward to for a long time, Starshine Beach Galaxy. I know nothing about this level, but I am praying that it's Mario Sunshine themed. Going in, this platform is kinda reminiscent of Delfino Plaza's architecture, so maybe? Or I might just be coping. Anyways, I swam to the bottom, rocketed to the main planet, and oh my god, they put Piantas in the game, holy! And Yoshi is literally right here next to him. I could actually cry, I never want to leave this level. I had no idea Mario Galaxy 2 actually paid this much of a tribute to the game. It looks like we're basically just collecting 5 silver stars here, which shouldn't be too hard, as the first one just needs us to munch on a Spiny and break open this glass. Heading back down, I took some time to admire the other Piantas, and no way! They referenced the Turbo Nozzle too, holy— I'm so sorry guys, but I haven't had new Mario Sunshine content in years. I'm so happy about this. We went ahead and took the star over to the Pianta statue next, then headed toward the giant tower to utilize the floating fruit. Making our way to the top, we got our third star and just admired the view for a while. Per usual, I made sure to get down safely, which I could do by either having Yoshi flutter jump toward the bottom, or just dropping into the deep water. The final 2 stars were over in the deep end, so I collected the first by turboing again, and got the second by rotating this neat little buoy and jumping up top. And while we had officially spawned the star, I decided to take a bit longer before collecting it because honestly, I never want to leave here. But like, we'll be back 5 more times, so let's keep at it. Going back into Paradise, our second star wants us to climb a tower. And dude, no way they put Chucksters in the game! We've got to be really careful around these guys, but this is awesome. Looking around some, we do see some clouds circling the tower, and sadly we can only stand on those with the cloud power up. I tried out the Chuckster here, and although it gives us a peek at the star, we do ultimately plummet to our deaths. So, is there anything we can do? Not particularly. The primary pathing here is to swim down to the base of the tower, which does have an entrance that leads all the way to the top. From there you can hit a switch and summon the cloud power up. That's all we can do. No power up means we can't take it in the leaf boat over to the tower, so oh well, but I'm still not even upset here. For the final main star, gosh, I just can't get over how much love they put into this level, man. Well, this is another purple coin level with a time limit, which I don't usually enjoy. We're doing another one that's reminiscent of using the turbo nozzle. Given that there's more than enough coins and I'm extremely skilled in the art of running fast on water, we can easily get this one with plenty of extra coins left over at the end. For our first green star here, it's actually pretty simple. We basically just need to harass the local populace, grab one of the silly floaty fruits, and head up on top of this tree. Unfortunately, just landing up there and trying to jump from the box doesn't get us enough height, but just using the floaty fruit actually does. That's yet another star to our roster. The second green star though does give us a little more trouble. The intended solution here is to take Yoshi and use the speed fruit, then right before the fruit, flutter up and jump off of him. Again, I want to try avoiding the jumps off of his back whenever possible, as I don't see myself getting more than a couple feet above him anyways. I tried to see if I could climb the tower and slide down the edge to grab the star, but sadly, the entrance to the tower is sealed, so that really only leaves the jump. Given that we can't look from a side perspective, this is honestly pretty hard to judge. Given that we have the additional propulsion, it may be possible for me to stretch up or kick high enough to grab it. I'm gonna very cautiously say yes here, assuming I could maybe reach for it, but I 100% understand any opposing feelings. And finally, for the last star here, it's not looking good. We need to follow the same pathing as the regular star 3, which has us go up to the tower to activate the cloud power up, which we can't use, then bounce off the buoy to cloud, cloud, and cloud again, just barely allowing us to reach the star. I'm not even going to remotely claim that there's any way I could make this happen. Like, maybe I could twist the water bubble shooter to aim toward the star, but that's assuming they could even be turned, which I don't think so. All in all though, I love this galaxy, I love Mario Sunshine, and getting 4 stars here is freaking awesome. Flying into Chompworks Galaxy, I honestly had no idea what to expect. Like, obviously chain chomps, but who knows what else? It turns out, we're just having to guide them. Heading over to the right side, we can quickly climb these platforms before they lower down, jumping up onto the second layer and hitting the switch here. Alternatively, I think I could probably manage to just run up this slope with enough time, but one of those two ways should work. Once the switch is hit, we just need to stand on this platform, lower it down, and let a chomp roll through, activating our next rocket. The following room has a similar challenge, where we need to hop from platform to platform on the left and right of a big trackway. We take a quick detour into this pipe, but again, we opt to skip this since I would never gamble. Making our way to the end, we've got one more small puzzle before making it to the final area. Here, we need to utilize flip switches to get the chain chomp from one side to the other. It's pretty easy, and aside from weighing down the side of the seesaw, the rest doesn't require any direct interaction from our body aside from the clap to flip the switches. That takes us to the final room, where we need to lead this golden girl all the way from start to end. Hanging down and dropping from this first ledge, we made our way to the end of the course, making sure to shove off any enemies that come in our way to make this easier for future me. It's definitely still tricky, don't get me wrong, and the consequence of getting smacked off here would be horrifically painful death, but you know what? I think we've got this. We'd have to hold down the first platform, rush forward, hold down the second, rush forward, and trigger the final switch right at the perfect time, but if we can manage all of that, we are good to go. It's a bit weird to say, but I do think the star is actually doable. For our second star, things don't bode very well as we've got to use the spring power-up. Boo! For this first area at least, we could likely circumvent the need by just running up this ramp, but it truly doesn't matter as the next room cooks us. Here we'd have to use the power-up to hop over these chomps, and there isn't exactly a way around that. The most I could possibly think of is hanging off this ledge and shuffling over, but even then, I doubt I could pull myself back up, and even if I could, we're just stuck in front of that wall. With nothing to really grip for climbing up, we are done. And for our final main star, the Cosmic Johns are back and scarier than ever. See, we're actually doing the same final challenge as Star 1, but this time being chased by a relentless army of Miis. This one took a lot of trial and error, meaning I definitely need multiple tries, but I did finally get it to work. Basically, if we do the same thing as last time and push all of the enemies off at the start, we can make our way to the end and start snaking around the final platform. This gets all of our clones bunched up together, and once they're fully grouped, we can start completing the challenge while making sure to move at a good enough pace that we don't get smacked. It's hard, like really hard, but I want to imagine that actual me would have a bit more bodily control and situational awareness than my controller allows me to showcase. In short, I do think it's possible though, with a very high risk yet high reward. Now for the first green star, it was actually right in sight from the beginning, but definitely not easy to reach. Getting up again one way or the other, I had one idea, maybe? That based on the shape of the chomps, we could potentially army crawl extremely close to one edge, effectively letting us wiggle our way along the ledge toward the green star. However, even if we could get close to it on here, it's still a full long jump and a spin away, meaning there's no way I could truly reach it on my own. For the second star, we could also get close given that we can pass this first planet and the second with these platforms, but as soon as we get to the third, we can see the stars hidden up on top. Now, if we could climb this building, we could get to it, but given that the wall is relatively smooth and the traditional pathing over on the left is also just a smooth brick, I don't see a way for us up. One fun thing at least, there is a really cool Easter egg back here made of star bits, so that was kinda neat. But finally, our last green star is on the spring level, meaning yeah, we're not getting it. Even if we could get to the second planet, we'd need to progress to the third and would absolutely need use of the spring to reach it. For how complex this entire galaxy was though, 2 stars is a pretty great outcome for the challenges that we faced. Flying to Sweet Mystery Galaxy, I already feel pretty dang confident since we can literally see a bulbberry on it. As expected, it's a Yoshi-based level where we need to eat the bulbberries to see where we're going. This honestly just plays exactly how you'd expect it to in a normal run. We have the expected accommodations per usual, such as fluttering before hitting the ground from large heights and whatnot, but we make it through to the end with minimal issues and claim our star. For our second star, we're just collecting purple coins and thankfully there's not really a challenge here either. No timer, no Cosmic Johns, just chilling and running the course again. I completed it no problem until realizing I missed 4 coins toward the start and then I died on the way back. So I completed it again no problem, this time making sure to actually look around, and that was a big happy star for me again. Sticking with the quick and simple stars, our first green star is pretty close to the beginning of the level. Now traditionally you're just supposed to sit on top of it and drop down, but I accidentally slipped my finger, fell off, and did this. Which worked, so I guess that would technically also work for me, but just know that the actual John would sit up top until I dropped onto it. The second green is not too far off from the start either, basically having us follow the pathway toward the Comet Medallion, flutter jumping out, and catching it with ease. It's been a while since we've had a clean sweep, but it feels really good. All credit to me, none to Yoshi. And going into Honey Hop Galaxy, we per usual cannot get super far with our first star. These B levels basically always rely on flying right around the start, and this one is no different. We can't get up here, and even if we pose an argument for somehow climbing up, the rest of the level just gets worse and worse. And going back in, we have another chimp challenge. I hate him so much. I hate the way he looks. Why did Mario Galaxy have such good NPCs and now we have this thing? Okay, but anyways, maybe the true issue stems from the fact that these always feel really hard. Like sure, I should credit him for letting us skip some of the first island, because it does technically mean that I actually have a chance here, but regardless, we still need to score 10,000 points by killing enemies, and there is no way that we can do that. So many of those guys are at the top of the map that we have zero chance of reaching, so it's kind of just an immediate no-go to me. If nothing else though, I at least don't have to see any more of his stupid face and his weird jiggly flappy lips and his stupid head. For Green Star 1 and 2 here, we again start at the beginning, which we can't escape. Woo! Since the first one here is in between the two planets and the second is at the top of planet 2, they are just so far out of reach. At bare minimum though, we don't have to see the Queen Bee at least, so that's also kind of a win. To the shock of absolutely no one, the bee power-up level lets us get nothing. And for our finale to World 4, we've got Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. Now, starting things out, aside from the horrific environment surrounding us, this doesn't seem that bad for a Bowser level. We've got some basic platforming to do, some Kameks to punch, and some fireballs to dodge, but this initial segment would go much better than I'd expect it to. Moving on a bit more, we entered into a castle segment and had our first 2D portion, which was amazingly doable. All of these jumps were over relatively short distances, and we didn't have to do any major drops to stop me in my tracks. Snaking around some funky gravity sections, we eventually found ourselves swimming through some water before eventually being spit out into Wump territory. We ran around these dudes with absolute ease, then continued climbing some stairs and punching Goombas before running around this horrifying ring of death. At the very end of this though, we finally ran into some major trouble. I severely doubt that I could get enough momentum to jump from this first gravitational field to the next, and I started to do a little bit of measurement math on it, but thankfully for me, it wasn't exactly necessary because the immediate next room was a no-go. Even if I could find a way onto the shiny rock, my butt is not capable of shooting that thing off into the target. Another sad day in the world of Bowser battles. Or what? Oh, smushin', not smoochin'. I was a little confused there, Bowser. Going in for a second star, the speedrun version of this, I was obviously pretty confident that it wouldn't go well given the full level. But we don't even need to talk about it, since my progress stops early on when I can't reach this timer to help me keep going. Also, I've experienced this long enough, it's finally time to talk about it. The spiraling run he gets stuck doing every once in a while makes me so mad. I hate it so much. Like, why would anyone ever want to do this movement? It's killed me so many times. That's all. Headed in for Green Star 1, I was decently hopeful that these may go well, given the fact that we probably won't have to finish the level, which was true. The first star is not too far in, located on top of this pillar right here, which we have no way to reasonably reach or climb. So, I can look at it, but I can't get it. Cool. For the second green star, it's quite a bit further into the level, but again in a place that we can technically get to, but not reach. Once again, we are just tormented by having to look at it way out of our grasp. So, oh well. Going from 4 stars last time to 0 on this boss battle was disappointing, but also I was beating up a kid last time, so I guess I probably should have expected that to be easier. World 4 has just been crazy up and down though, so let's hope that World 5 is a bit more lucky in general. Starting out World 5 is the Space Storm Galaxy, which sounds scary, and is scary. Our first traversal immediately has us rocketing to this long 2D tube segment, which as always, really sucked for us. For these first few ledges we could definitely drop down, but after that we have this massive drop which would really hurt. Now compared to the other levels though, the background here does give us one potential fix. There are actual grooves here that I could grip, as well as external pipes that I could hold. Now maybe there's a way that I could grip these areas to lower myself down more safely. I don't know if that's actually possible, but let's say it is. The following areas are just as brutal. I did consider using the same tactic by stretching my arms up to hold the top grooves while standing on the lower ones, so I could shimmy my way across, climbing up a step each increment. It would work for a short while maybe, but sadly not too much further along, we just have too many electric barriers and moving platforms preventing us from fully progressing. Going into the next level, our mechanic here is slow in time. If we slam these big blue switches down, everything rocket into the main island. We first use this mechanic to help us navigate a big rotating scary section with tons of water balls being blasted at us. Flipping some switches to open the gates blocking us, We get to the end and find a bouncy pad. We've talked about these before, but the bounce here is absurd. I'd think anyone just being thrust up this high would take some substantial damage to their legs and knees. Now sure, we could likely still make it up and survive, but then there's a ton of intense parkour and climbing, followed by at least 2 more bouncy segments. This final area really sold it for me though, as there's no way I'd be climbing this fast with damaged legs, followed by this massive jump at the end. It was honestly way closer to possible than I'd imagined, but still not something I feel comfortable checking off. For our final star, we're trying to find a gear mode toward the end of the first level, which we can't beat. So, no. Let's see if the green stars go any better for me. With our 3 brutal losses, I went into the first one expecting the worst, but to my complete surprise, it was both visible from the start and logically achievable. The expected strategy here is to fling yourself with the bubble toward the star, but given that I treat all pole stars and warp stars like rockets, then reasonably speaking we should be allowed to do this, right? I didn't have to spin jump or anything, it was perfectly on track, so I'd just be driving my rocket up there and grabbing the star. For our second green star, this one is also visible from the start. That's kinda crazy. And even cooler than that, we can actually get to the area. I rocketed over, took a bit to observe the setting, and oh my gosh, this is perfect. These grates definitely seem climbable to me, and if we make our way to the top, it is right in front of us. We just have a small amount of the ramp to go up, and then boom, second star. There's no way that luck continues on for the third though, right? It's visible from the start again, and it actually looks like we can reach it using the bubbles. We headed back to the same island, double checked that it was the last bubble blaster that we needed to take, and there were no trick jumps here or anything. The bubble literally just picks us up and takes us directly to the star. So 0 regular stars and 3 green stars just feel so wrong, but I am very happy to be shocked by those results. Entering into Slip Sand Galaxy, we have a very cursed level name with Squizzard's Sandy Sinkhole, but a very fun time. Starting things out, we need to ride the Sand River, which takes us down this snaking pathway covered in orbs of fire. While difficult to dodge, it is for sure doable, and once we make it past all those segments, we can eventually rocket on to the next area. Here we need to dodge some sliding stones while fighting a sand current this time, and to be real, it's kinda easier than the last one. Even these bomb dudes look more difficult than they'd actually be to deal with, since you can kinda just walk past them. As I crested this hill though, I saw a horrifying sight. A fire flower. But to my amazement, we didn't need it. It was literally just for a 1-up. We can easily continue progression here by pulling ourselves up onto the stone and hopping the ledge, then just doing it one more time. Completing that tedious area rewards us with potentially the most boring section of the game. Sliding here was fun initially, we just need to make our way left and right to avoid getting crushed, and then we just kept sliding. And sliding. And sliding. I kid you not, we slid for 50 seconds, which is just kinda silly. But with all of that done, it seemed we were finally ready to fight the boss. I summoned Squizzard, and to my absolute horror, the fire flower came back. The only way to hurt this dude is by blasting him with fire, which really sucks. I wondered about the possibility of just holding the flower and using it as a weapon like the characters in Smash Bros, but since that doesn't seem to be the intention of the item here, I don't think it'd be a fair assumption to make. We truly did make it all the way, just to be stopped by Squizzard's Sandy Sinkhole. And for the second star, holy crap, that's a Sandbird reference! I need to get to the Sandbird. We start things off on the sand tube again, but this time the current is pushing us backwards instead of forwards. Thankfully, we can hop on these platforms to cross the first section, but after that we need to use the pipe on the inside. I was able to get through these first few sections alright, narrowly dodging the fire in a couple instances, but disaster quickly struck. Not only is the first drop absurd, but this second one is so death ensuring that not a single one of you could disagree with me. I can't believe they kept me from the Sandbird. Why would Miyamoto do this? And for the final main star, it's a daredevil run against Squizzard who we can't beat, so let's go ahead and die before moving on. For the green stars though, I actually think we may have a chance here given that we were able to traverse most of the level pre-Squizzard. That turned out to be true for at least the first star, as we could see it after a bit of traversal at the base of the sandy waterfall. I opted for what I considered the safest option by climbing up above, lining myself up, and taking a scary slide down, but we did end up falling on the star and collecting it. For the second green, we traversed the exact same path, but rather than jumping off the edge, we instead rocket to the sand slide. Here, it's an immediate slide to the left, or from my perspective, slide to the right. But anyways, we make it over to grab this dude. Now, I missed him multiple times, but again, from my perspective, I would be seeing this coming toward me, so I do think I could hit the star easier. And finally, trying for the third, we do the exact same path as the second star, but this time we crisscross. Basically, we just have to avoid the rolling pillars, and afterwards it is a long and smooth journey to the end where the green star appears on our right side. Crazy, but that is 2 galaxies in a row where no regular stars were possible, and then all 3 green stars were doable. That's so weird, but I'll happily take it. Coming into Shiverburn Galaxy, the massive amounts of lava don't bode very well for this star. We do manage to hop across the first few platforms and skip over the oncoming electric bursts, but then, oh boy, a cloud power-up. And there's no remote chance we skip around the need for this, because underneath is complete and utter death. On to the next level. Our second star has us taking on another challenge from the chimp. Basically, we need to get 600 points by knocking over these balloon-like targets again, which are nearly identical to the ones we did in Freezy Flake. Running this a few times, I knew 600 was definitely possible, and it would just take a really optimized run. And so I did it, and again, and again, and again, until I began to lose my mind. I got 590 points multiple times, missing the final target by a fraction of a second. But I finally did it. I finally got the star. And it wasn't until after recording this that I remembered I can't get to the chimp, as it requires clearing the first planet. I was so obsessed with beating this stupid chimp via human logic that I completely forgot that I can't get here. I hate this. For the final main star of this level, we have the Octo Army's Icy Rainbow Romp. Basically, we've got 50 seconds to kill 30 Octo Rocks, and I tried this one a lot with human logic, requiring myself to run up and punch every single one, but even with a lot of tries and better pathing, no matter what I did, I just couldn't get close to finishing it. Similar to the crabs in Boulder Bowl, it's just a case of being able to actually hit all the dudes in time, cause if there was no timer, I'd be fine. Adding their constant rock shots on top of everything else that we need to dodge, I honestly think we're cooked here. For the green stars, things don't get any better, honestly. The first is located on top of the volcano, which requires the cloud power up to get to. The second is located on the second lava planet, which we can't get to, and the third is toward the end of the level, which again, very obviously, we can't reach. The odds of ever doing well in this level were extremely low, but wow, that was pretty rough. Going to Boo Moon Galaxy, I'm feeling pretty hopeful given that our last spooky galaxy treated us so well. The start of this one drops us straight into a dark maze, and thankfully for us, it's not too hard to navigate and we eventually find our way out. Rocketing forward, we next have to traverse some snaking blocks over poison. Probably poison? I don't know, but it goes well. As long as you keep up pretty well with the front of this dude, you basically never get left behind and always know where to go. We make it all the way around this gravity warping segment until eventually rocketing once more onto this really neat moon. And while I was enjoying the view at first, I quickly realized that those star bits were very high in the air. I tested how far I could get the moon to rotate down on either side, and I hate to say it, but even running fast there is no way we get the height needed to collect these upper ones. A bit of an anticlimactic ending, but let's keep going. For our second star, we're at least taking a different pathway. Here we're navigating our way through the maze, which is a little tricky, especially with the quickly growing cloud of ghosts following close behind, but we do ultimately manage to make it to the exit pipe where we are swiftly dropped and have our legs broken. Okay, I've never talked about it from this perspective, but every pipe would be so terrifying to enter. You have no idea if you're just stepping out into a new room or being dropped like 50 feet. Our final main star here though is a secret star, which we may actually be able to get. On the first star, our journey ended due to the moon segment, but here we actually stopped right before going there. See, instead of taking the rocket, we instead wait a little bit longer until the bridge continues snaking on. There's some pretty tricky running, but from my perspective, I think it'd actually be easier, eventually culminating in us managing to make our way to the star. For the first green, we're actually going right back to where we just came from. Skipping the rocket on the swamp and following the snaking pathway, we have a new green star here which is way out to the left side. What's unfortunate is that while we can see it, it does require a long jump to reach, which I don't see us completing. So I doubt we're making that jump. On the second green star, we again go somewhere familiar and take the rocket from the swamp to the moon. Here, instead of trying to collect the impossible star fragments though, we instead have the star hanging just off the left edge. Inching my way to the very corner, my primary thought here was that we could hang down, swing back and forth to build a little momentum, and release while headed toward the star. However, I don't know if we have enough room to actually get the momentum needed to go forward, and I can't really simulate what the rocking of the moon would look like with that movement either. For now, I'm going to go ahead and give this one the all good, but I am still a bit skeptical, and I understand if you are too. For the final green, unfortunately it does require us to get all the star bits, as it's hidden on the final island way above the pop-up mansion. So definitely a no-go for a multitude of reasons. Although it wasn't quite as friendly as our last ghost level, I'm still pretty happy overall to at least leave here with 2 stars. Coming into Upside Dizzy Galaxy, the odds are not in my favor. Starting at the first star, we immediately have a pretty big drop as is, and the only solution I can imagine here is holding Luigi's hand first while flipping my gravity, grabbing the ledge next, then dropping all the way to the bottom to make this work. From there, we can maybe lower ourselves into this next region to ensure that we don't fling back and forth as aggressively as possible, but with all of my beautiful problem solving, it still just continues to escalate more and more until I have to for sure say no. For the second star, we've got a secret one hidden up the level, which we can't get to, so nope. And for both our first and second green stars, you can likely imagine that yes, they're in the level, and no, we cannot get to them. So let's go ahead and head out of here to something a bit more fun. Finally, unlocking Fleet Glide Galaxy. I'm feeling pretty good since it's looking like a Fluzzard level. For as crazy as the background of this level is and all the stuff technically going on, I am happy to say that it's really not too different from the first level in the jungle. As long as we can use Fluzzard, we can do this for sure. Going back in for another star? Dude, I really don't think this is the best time for a race. However, given my extremely small star count that Peach probably won't be too pleased to see, we have to take what we can get. This is, in every sense, the exact same star as the last one. We fly really fast, we beat a child in a race, and get the star. For the first green star, this may literally be the fastest one in the entire game. I had to slow this clip down this much because all you do is dive straight down. That's it. Then we get it. So yeah, we can definitely do this. And the second green star isn't too different either, as really we just need to fly down like normal until getting to this room with the collapsing pillar. Hidden behind it is our second green, which we can easily glide into. Just like that, Fluzzard is yet again the GOAT, and we're leaving here with 4 stars. And for the finale of World 5, we have Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker. Given the cloud power-up I can see though, the odds of success seem low. Flying in here, we do see the remnants of the robot we destroyed last time, so hey, props to us. Does bro think I'm stupid? Anyways, our first goal is to lead this bullet bill to the glass cage, which is easy enough, and once inside we have a cannon, which kills us immediately. So yay, we don't even need to waste our time building up to the clouds that I can't use. Let's go! For a second star, we've got a daredevil run of an impossible level. Alright, now for the green stars. You may be thinking that I'll say something like, due to the fact that this level is impossible, obviously we can't get any of the green stars. But you would be wrong. We can in fact make our way to the cannon and blast ourselves gloriously toward the first green star. Assuming we actually hit it and don't endlessly fly off into space, this one is somehow actually possible. Green Star 2 though is unfortunately not possible. Yes, it does use the same cannon mechanic as before, but since it's further into the level, we can't reach it unfortunately. Given that we're even leaving with 1 star though, I'm still very happy and ready to get to World 6. And starting off World 6 for us is Melty Monster Galaxy, which doesn't bode too well if I had to guess. To my pleasant surprise though, the first star begins with a pull star segment, which puts little to no stress on me. As we've said in the past, I'm assuming that the rocket would be just as easy to control as the pull stars are, because I mean, it's not like it's rocket science or anything. We dodge the magbarks, continue on, and eventually end up at this very scary lava section. Just from the look of it though, I'm already pretty iffy. Some of those jumps look way too high to make, let alone with the timer imposed on us, but our true disqualifier follows immediately after. I'd love to see one person demonstrate the ability to jump between pulls like this. Like, there's no way that even an extremely skilled climber is managing to get past all of these. I can't even really call this one a sad loss, because frankly, it was never expected from the start. And for Star 2, we clearly have no chance. No power-up means no rolling out. Except no, I've given up on too many of these. I'm gonna make it work if it's the last thing I do. And for our final secret star, the pipe there is surprisingly hidden right on the first island, which I wasn't expecting. We just head in, and it's a stupid chimp challenge with the rolling power-up. Maybe the green stars will give us a little more luck, I guess. And surprisingly, they kinda do. The first green star is similar to Space Storm Galaxy, where we just need to direct our rocket upwards to collect this guy. If anything, I'd actually argue that it's easier than the one in Space Storm, since there's a direct track to follow that slings us right up to the correct pathway. However, green stars 2 and 3 aren't quite as lucky, given that if you watch me collect both of them, you'll see that I'm spinning like a helicopter and rolling like a bowling ball. So no, neither of those are exactly humanly possible movements. In a galaxy this perilous though, you gotta know when to be happy just walking away with even one star. Coming into Clockwork Ruins Galaxy, this place is actually super cool, and surprisingly, more human-friendly than I'd anticipate. The goal here is to cross these spinning gears, and honestly if we play it safe and take our time, nothing about this initial section had me doubting it. Each area gives more than enough leeway for us to run when we need to go, and while some jumps would be tricky of course, this could absolutely be done. Finally making it to the end by hanging onto this ledge and being pulled up, we rocket on toward the next segment. The challenge here is to navigate from one area to the next, all while managing to avoid the purple pieces jutting out. Exactly like before, I'd say it's tricky, but doable. I made sure not to ever play it too risky, and once getting to this ledge, managed to find a reasonable way up as I think I could use the grate in the wall as a foothold. Continuing on, it's some more jumps, patient waiting on scarily high walls, and running on forward until eventually flipping gravity and making our way back. This all went so well, and on return we opened the cage, talked to the Luma, and rocketed on to the final section. We pressed forward, hiding in the nooks of the massive rolling cylinders as they passed over us, rounded the corner, and are you kidding me? All of that just to end in a wall jump section. Oh my gosh. Next on the agenda is a hungry Luma, who thankfully is in the first section rather than at the end. That being said, I don't even know if this is a thankfully situation, because dear lord this would be horrible. In order to actually collect the 30 coins we need, we'd have to scavenge nearly every single rotating cylinder, and I cannot even begin to emphasize how dangerous and exhausting that would be. However, given that there's no time limit, we could take breaks in between each area, and there is a way to allow us to slide down at the end, so we don't have any huge drops. All things considered, I'm going to say that it's cautiously doable technically, and if we feed this dude we can go ahead and blast on toward the new planet. Compared to all that came before, this is literally a piece of cake. We just need to run forward and avoid the hammers, which I can do easy peasy, and there are a few switches to slow down time if we need to use them. Honestly, they aren't even really necessary though, and getting through the final part, we can go ahead and grab the star. And for the last main star, guys, I don't want to do this. Okay, this discussion is basically the exact same as last time with the 30 yellow coins. Is it possible? Yeah, sure. Is anyone going to genuinely accomplish this? I don't know, man, maybe. Everything here is again technically doable, so I can't really discount it, but this would be insanely hard, that's all I have to say. I'm gonna say yes on possible, but I would never want to find myself in this situation. For our green stars, the first one is in this initial gear segment located on top of gear 3. While we could manage to get up there, its actual location is unfortunately far too high for us to reasonably jump to, so kind of a bummer. For star 2 though, our luck is a little bit better. We need to make our way back to the maze with the pushing walls, get to the end, and flip the gravity. Then on our way back, rather than just going to the warp star, we instead let ourselves get lifted up and walk on the boundary. There is a green star hidden out there, so it's both a fun location and fully doable. For the final green star though, we have to head back through everything and eventually end up getting stopped at the same place we did the first star, since the green one is actually super close to the end of the map. There's no way we do that tricky jump, there's no way we get up there, so for so many reasons, it is absolutely a no. For such an insane and complex looking galaxy though, I'd say that 3 stars is pretty dang good. Holy crap guys, this is a Mario 64 reference, no freaking way! Okay, in all seriousness, I actually love that Galaxy 2 paid so much respect to the games that came before. Oh, hi. I really hope you don't remember what I did to you last time. But as a human, I could shoot something else in a cannon. I love these little guys, but it's all the better he's literally a bomb. But anyways, obviously it's great when games fully pave the way for new ideas, but it's cool to see that they took the time to put some fan service in here. Making our way up, we really don't have too much trouble and can pretty easily beat the enemies in our pathway. Making our way to the top, I do have to make one change from last time though. In my Mario 64 video, I assumed that I could beat King Thwomp due to the fact that his back was falling apart from the cracked concrete. Here though, he's both completely silent, which kinda sucks, and he's fully put together. No way to beat him, I guess we'll just have to stop here. Guys, that was not in fact King Thwomp. He's here, he's huge, and he's still incredibly based. But like, yeah, no, I can't beat him obviously. And second up here, this star actually changes the layout quite a bit, which is super cool. Headed up the ramp, we find our first silver star, and immediately after we see a second one hanging really low. I may not be able to get back up, but I can at least say that I left here with 2 silver stars. Let's go, a speedrun star for the level we just discussed not being able to beat. This is awesome. Alright, for the first green star, we weirdly enough just practiced it a second ago. Headed to roughly where I dropped down and died when getting the second silver star, we can drop down and grab the green star before plummeting into the void. A little silly, but sure, that works for me. On the second one though, I raged so unreasonably hard at the star. I love the physics that happen when you try to stand on a slanting object and it just doesn't work. But essentially here, our goal is to get the Thwomp to slam down, then hold onto his head as he stands back up. I do think Humanus could honestly position this way better than Mario and get up there with relative ease, at which point it's hard to tell, but I think it's within jumping distance to grab when we're standing on this dude's head. I don't have amazing footage here though because honestly, this was just so annoying that I never even got nicely positioned. That just leaves our final green star, which is an easy no, as it floats way out from the fortress in the sky, meaning the only way to reach it is the cloud power-up. Maybe if the owl was still around we could use him, but sadly it doesn't seem to be. After the brutal butt kicking I got from the first 3 guys though, I'm really happy to be leaving here with at least 2 stars because again, this level is super cool. Alright, we are off to the Battle Belt Galaxy. Here it's, well, a belt of battles. Each planet has us facing a couple unique enemies, and the first couple go all well and good. We kill a Goomba to start, then kick some spicy rocks, but that's about it. Our third planet faces us with these guys that we can only kill with fire. Also, I just want to take a quick second to note how horrifying their death is. Given that I'd get absolutely skewered if I even tried to approach one to inflict physical damage, I really don't see myself making it past here. It's not a huge disappointment though, as a few planets later after killing some crabs and boos, we would eventually have another obstacle that I don't see us getting past either. For our secret star, we need to collect 20 coins along our path in order to feed a hungry Luma. That would eventually take us to a fight against Gobblegut again, but since I can't get past this planet, 8 coins is the best we can do. And let's freaking go! The third star is a daredevil run where we get stuck in the same place as last time. We're just gonna take a pause real fast to recognize what may be the stupidest and laziest green stars of the entire game. Every single one of these is first off just located above a shielded section, all on planets we can't reach, so great, they're ruled out. But for me to actually get these in order to unlock Grandmaster Galaxy for the end of the video, I had to just keep replaying this level over and over again, slowly progressing a little bit further each time doing the exact same thing. No substance, nothing interesting, just repeated planets over and over and over again. It didn't even take that long, it's just the principle of it. No stars, let's get out of here. Coming into Flash Black Galaxy, guys, that looks like a lot of wall jumping. I don't even know if I should bother with this one, but for the sake of talking through it, we start making our way toward the mansion when holy crap, that's a Yoshi egg. We're not cooked after all. The entire premise here is to use Yoshi to travel upwards with the floaty fruits. Getting up to the first ledge, then the second. Oh my god. After leaving the second ledge, we basically just keep traversing up and exploring around, eventually finding our way to the rocket and heading to section 2. This is also just some basic exploration, collecting 5 silver stars while avoiding the booze. Toward the end, we do have the slammy chicken things, but oh my god, he just died. They're not hard to avoid, and way easier than I expected, so we've got the star. Going in for star 2, the challenge here is to beat 30 Octoombas. I'm gonna be so real, despite playing this game for so long at this point, I thought you could only kill them in one hit by jumping on them, and I tried this so many times only jumping. Then I got to thinking, you know, that human me would be punching them, so I tried it, and it instantly died. So I punched all of them, and I ended up with so much extra time. I'm mad at myself for being this stupid, but I'm very happy to be getting the star. Going in for our first green, it's actually really kind to us. All we need to do is navigate back up through the vertical maze, and once making it to the top right, we see the star. The tricky element here is definitely actually reaching it, but given that Yoshi's flutter has our hat basically scraping it, I'm again cool in saying that we could reach up and take it for ourselves. Green Star 2 is equally as kind, as all we have to do here is complete the maze, make it to the end of the long flashing stretch, and nestled right below a platform just out of sight is our second star. I really don't even have much to say, this one is just very doable. For being so close to the end of the game, that is honestly shocking to leave here with 4 stars. Let's see if that good energy keeps going. Going into our final galaxy before the final fight with Bowser, we have Slimy Spring Galaxy. Starting out the first star, I was immediately worried we'd be met with a deadly drop, but luckily it was an incline that led us straight into water. Down here we found a shell and started swimming our way forward. There's really not too much to say for this first part. I did start running out of air in my gameplay, but remember that I have a suit and this meter doesn't really pertain to the true logic. Using my first shell to shatter some bricks, we kept on moving, eventually reaching a rocket that shot us up towards segment 2. And oh no, this is gonna be a deadly drop, isn't it? I took a leap of faith and it was water. Oh my gosh, it just feels too easy at this point. We speed our way down the tunnels, dodging enemies and rolling spiky dudes at the end, until eventually coming out on what may be the most beautiful section of the game. Like, holy crap, I was not expecting this. Let's just crack the chest open and, oh, we actually needed that shell? Thankfully, Miyamoto put one over here for stupid people like me, so we cracked the chest, saved Toad, and claimed our star. And for our second star here, it's the chimp. My favorite NPC. But I do feel like we have a chance here given that the level is primarily shell-based movement. Thankfully for me, I was right. We just need 10,000 points, which we can get by shining our light at enemies and by collecting coins. This one doesn't even require super precise movement or anything, it's just a whole lot of swimming with tons of extra points available in the final room at the end if you miss too much. I'm pleasantly surprised to say that we are good to go with the star. And wrapping us up here, our 2 green stars are insanely easy. The first is literally just right in front of us as we pass through this large cavern, and with some amazing swimming, we claimed it with ease. The second is equally simple too, as we just make our way to the end of this section, fall out of our rocket, and immediately grab it just sitting out in the open over here. It feels a little silly to again end with something so nice, but that is 4 stars right before the final boss. And we're finally here. Bowser's Galaxy Generator. On the cusp of greatness, will I alone stand tall and beat the Turtle King? Probably not, but let's give it a shot. Going through the first area, we avoid some scary floating balls, then rocket downwards where I absolutely obliterate the local turtle population. Pumped up on adrenaline, we grab the dandelion and floated downwards, the same way as the Fortnite people do, before seeing the drill. But I will not give up. The indomitable human spirit pushes me to dig with my hands, and so I dig slowly but surely through the dry and darkened earth until falling to my death. I mean, come on, I literally never stood a chance here. No Bowser for me. But for the sake of storytelling here, because we obviously need to beat the game to access World S, Bowser, this isn't you! You can be better than this! Hey, it's me, a Jack of Black, and you're right. Here's your Bow Star. So just like that, we talked Bowser out of it, claimed our star, and are you kidding me? I can't even have this. Okay, one more time. Bowser, you can be better. I know there's good in you. Hey, it's me, a Jack of Black. You're right. Here's your Power Star. And just like that, we saved Peach, saved the universe, and holy crap, the observatory is in this game? Oh, never mind. I guess not. Okay, bye-bye. But we have World S at least. Let's wrap things up here though before finishing up. Our other main star is pretty obviously impossible, but the fun note is that we could do even less than before. Given that it's a speedrun level, we aren't even able to entertain the idea of digging down into the dirt, but maybe the green stars will somehow be a little better. And somehow, they are. Or at least the first one is. I really didn't expect one to fall within our range of possibility, but if we make our way forward, stomp some Koopas, and begin floating down on the flower, we can actually land directly on this dude, which is pretty crazy. The second star though, not quite so lucky. It's first off way into the level, and second off, way out there, so we are absolutely not reaching this dude. With that officially ending off World 6 though, it's time for us to wrap up with some of the hardest levels in the game, World S. And finally, we're here. And starting this out is none other than Mario Squared Galaxy, which is awesome because I'm a math teacher and squared is a math reference, and this script has gone on so long, I'm going insane. Okay, so talking about the actual level, this is one that I define as possible but extremely difficult. The biggest challenge here would be making some of these large jumps across the gaps though, as the actual pathing and switches aren't too bad to hit once you know where you're going. We could avoid or just swat down most of the fire sprites we see, and once activating every platform, it's pretty simple to make your way back since you can step on the switch tiles now. The largest obstacle I saw was this final jump back, but given that we could actually interact with the metal grating outlining the platforms, worst case scenario I could jump, grab these metal bars, and shimmy my way up and over to claim our first star here. And hey, this time we've got Luigi. Oh no. Oh god, no, please not this again. And we'd have to get every single purple coin to get the star. In short, we could get a lot of these guys with some horrifyingly long jumps intertwined, but toward the end there's just some coins that would be impossible to reach. Like, I'm not doing that. Or that. Also, are you kidding me? It stopped me mid-air and it killed me. Okay, so with green stars 1 and 2, we go from really hard to insanely easy again. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no idea where I'd hide these either if I was designing this level, but like, come on. We are in World S, which is supposed to be the hardest level, and both green stars are just under the platform. You get them by just standing still. It's just a little silly, honestly, that's all. I'll still happily take 3 stars here though, which I was not expecting. Going into Rolling Coaster Galaxy, holy crap guys, new Rainbow Road just dropped, and by that, I mean 16 years ago. Similar to all other rolling levels, yeah, I could push the ball for a bit, But no, I am not beating this. It's kind of a bummer I don't get to do more here though, since I honestly love the look of this level, but come on, some things are just impossible to imagine away. For the second star, it's again ideally apparent that I can't do this. So you guys can enjoy the rest of the video now while real life me spends too long raging trying to finish this. And just the same with green stars 1 and 2, these are evil. Like this first one was bad enough, but putting the second right at the end? I shouldn't have to replay the entire level every single time I miss. That's just straight up evil behavior. Very obviously though, 0 stars. Holy crap, there's no way. Twisty Trials Galaxy is one of the hard levels from Sunshine. Oh my gosh. Specifically, the one in Rico Harbor. Guys, Galaxy 2 might just be the second best 3D Mario game of all time because it actually recognizes peak when it sees it. But to actually talk on this level, I do think we have a pretty good chance here. Given that all these rotating logs are placed relatively close together, and they spin at a slow enough speed that we could straddle the edges as they turn over, nothing here exactly strikes me as impossible. We skipped the stupid cloud power-up because of course I'm goated and don't need it, and things just kept going well. We ran across the gears, made some large but doable leaps onto some of the larger logs, and eventually with time made it all the way to the end with the star. It's a bit funny to me though that honestly the average person would hate to see this, but I am so happy and want to keep coming back. For the second star though, I just had to go and grab the old music file because oh my gosh, it is so good. And you know what? It was the right choice because this level is also much more frustrating. First off, I'm happy to announce that they kept the horrible sliding mechanics, and so many times where I could have reasonably stood there, Mario opted to visit the void. Also, I had mentioned before that we had plenty of time to straddle the edges, but of course, that is not true here. I really tried to give this one the benefit of the doubt and attempted for as long as I possibly could, but I really don't see any human doing this. I love you, Sunshine, but this is too much for me. And then, as if the knife of betrayal had not sunk deep enough into my body, the green star struck. Not just one, but both of them required you to use the cloud power-ups. It's not fair, Sunshine would never hurt me this way. There has to be a grander conspiracy at large here. So that's the only star for us, but we'll take it happily. Oh my gosh guys, the Stone Cyclone! That's a Mario Galaxy 1 reference! Just like the rest of this entire game. Okay, honestly, it's pretty funny to call back to the game that this one is literally named after, but I won't complain since I remember this level being doable. Very scary, but doable. Our primary goal here is to get all 5 silver stars while avoiding getting crushed, and although everything moves quite a bit faster, we do have access to a few buttons that slow everything down. I'll be the first to say that I died a lot, but really nothing here is impossible. It's a little silly that these feel like they're getting easier as we continue on, but you love to see it. Going in for star 2, I don't even know how to explain this, but I initially forgot this entire challenge for a minute. I was literally just doing long jumps and crap before I remembered, oh yeah, this is what a human could do. Maybe subconsciously I had just already accepted that this level wasn't happening, because shocker, it's not. Between getting the timers in time and waiting for the right time to jump in different locations, there's no way I'm capable of doing this. Most of the encouraged pathways emphasize non-human movement for speed, which is fair enough, but obviously not for me. And for our green stars, 1 and 2 can both be grouped together as similar, given that we can reach the base location of where they're at, but don't have the movement necessary to actually grab them. Somewhat of a bummer, but I was kind of expecting it at this point. And heading to Boss Blitz Galaxy, I was just expecting some refights from this game, but no. We are doing another Mario Galaxy 1 reference with some of the original bosses, which is actually super cool. We've got the Dino Piranha, King Caliente, Major Burrows, Bouldergeist, and the Fiery Dino Piranha. Now from my past experiences, I do at least know that I could beat Caliente and Bouldergeist, which is cool, but given that that's all I'm capable of, we'd be stuck just chilling on the first planet with non-aggro Dino Piranha. And for the last time in this video, this is a speedrun level of a level that we can't do, so that's a big fat no. The 2 green stars are also super similar, as they're both just placed on boss arenas later in the stage. While I can't actually reach them, I did want to note that had I been able to get to the planet, I do think that I could have at least grabbed them from where they were placed. Also, I just wanted to show the screen for when I got the Bouldergeist one, because this may be the funniest star cutscene I had this entire game, so I can't even be upset about the 0 stars, cause look at that. And ending us off before the grand finale is Flip Out Galaxy, which is accurately named because I'm about to flip out over the fact that this level is named after wall jumping. We can spin our way through the first passage, but after that, we find ourselves trapped in a wall segment not too much further. Given that the main wall doesn't look like it has enough spacing between the bricks to be climbable, it looks like we're going to be here for a while. And going back for Star 2, we can't do the wall jump still. And to add insult to injury, a Cosmic John made sure I didn't even get to film my outro segment. The green stars are just a similar story as well, as they are both located in areas that require wall jumps to access. But none of that even matters, because up next, we have the true ultimate challenge. We are going to put the human spirit to the absolute test, because we're headed to Grandmaster Galaxy. And here we are, the end of our grand journey. And what better way to start off this challenge than with our best friend Yoshi? We can make our way through the first path without too much trouble, as Yoshi does most of the work for us, swinging us through. We can make it all the way there, climb the pole, and say goodbye to our friend as we rocket on to the next planet. Here we have some simple switches to flip by running over them, and if we follow a basic pattern of tracing the outside, then hopping around the diagonals on the inside, we can do this one without too much trouble. From here we rocket again, and no, not the clouds. We were doing so well and then the clouds struck. I'm so sorry guys, but this is where we must stop. And for our final star, we should have had a challenge run to do here, but we don't. I have the comment medallion though, so why isn't it appearing? You need 9,999 star bits? What? Okay, we 100% know that I'm not getting this, so I am not doing that. 0 stars for us in Grandmaster Galaxy. And with that, our grand journey has finally come to an end. In total, a human would be able to collect 2 grand stars, 38 regular stars, and 42 green stars, making a total of 82 stars doable. Thank you all so much for coming on this journey with me, and if you enjoyed watching, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thank you to all my members, Scoopsky Cat, Added Space, Silver Mustard, The Amentia, Bayleaf 0, Carl Slurpee, Peony524, Dr. Shimp 121, Rainboom Dash, Cody Bones 004, Bad Dragon, Narwhale 720, Elliot Lawrence 27, Crunkmaster Flex 1548, Rick Rollosaurus, Radio Rudy, William Parker 3318, Drop D Mike 75, Sidra 2, Panini Linguini 1791, Chaotis Weasel 5437, Pizza Dog 500, Noisecapes 9305, Scribble 72, Zacharias L, Mixtrick, Chios, Sushi Elemental, Mystery of the Shockwave, Emma M 3268, Redeath 310, Pick Minis, Name is Aves, 3 Fall, Mr. Ian 1, Artifios 1, Mom Shiba 1016, The Green Lightning MRT, and Tinta. If I pronounced any of those wrong, please let me know in the comments and I'll fix that up next time. Next up on the video roster is continuing our Breath of the Wild series, taking on Gerudo Town and Vadnaboris, so wish me luck with that.